Namaskar, hello and a very warm welcome to this special 5-day, 5-hour online training on digital technology for children with special needs, organized by CIET, that is Central Institute of Educational Technology, NCRT, New Delhi. My name is Tanvi Khurana. At this moment, you're watching us on eVidya, channel number 6 to channel number 12. This is a 5-day training and every day a new topic will be presented, a new discussion will happen. A new guest will be here in our studio and they'll be more than happy to answer all your doubts, all your queries regarding this online training. This is the theme of this 5-day training starting from today, that is 9th of October, and the 5th day would be 13th of October, and a quiz would be given to you on the last day. If you score more than 70% and above marks in the quiz, then a participation certificate will be given to you. So all the very best for that quiz, but for that you have to watch all the 5 sessions, and for that each and every detail will be given to you. Towards the end of this session, I'll be explaining how you can register yourself, how you can participate in this particular program. And there is no attendance link, so you do not have to mark your attendance anywhere. All you have to do is register yourself, and please make sure that you are typing correct spellings of your name so that it'll be easier for our team to prepare the certificates for all of you. Today is the day 1, and the day 1 would be dedicated to digital technology for Divyang, the policy perspectives, the scope and need. And for your queries, there are multiple mediums that we have through which you can connect with us. First medium is the phone number, that is 8800440559. It's being flashed on your screens at the moment, and apart from this, there is a specific email ID that is dedicated for this entire online training, that is training.helpdesk@ciet.nic.in. So please note it down very carefully and raise your queries throughout this program. Till 5 o'clock, we have a guest with us, and she'll be more than happy to answer all your doubts, all your queries. Apart from this, you're watching us on NCERT Official, that is our YouTube channel, and in the live chat box you can raise your queries, your questions and share them with us. So let me please introduce her, our guest, to all of you. She is Dr. Bharti Kaushik.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, ma'am. A very warm welcome to you. Ma'am is an associate professor from CIET NCRT New Delhi itself, and she'll be answering, and she'll be with us throughout this program, throughout this 1 hour. And I have a lot of questions to ask her. So without further ado, ma'am, let's just begin this conversation.
Sure.
And I can say about digital technology that incorporating digital technology into the education of children with special needs is not merely an option. It is a necessity. It is a necessity in the modern education landscape. Can we say that?
Of course, we can say that, and let's understand it better by taking an analogy. Suppose you have a person at home who is part and parcel of your family, and that person doesn't have teeth.
Okay.
And neither the false teeth can be fitted in the mouth. So how will you take care of the food needs of that particular person? Will you be leaving that person aside? Will you be ignoring that person, that okay, I'm making chapatis, I'm making pulav, and I'm putting some hard nuts in the pulav, so this can't be served to that person? No, we are not going to ignore that person at all, because that is not the option. The same is the case with the educational scenario, and same is the case beyond educational scenario, same is the case in all our day-to-day activities, same is the case in all our social dimensions, wherein we need to make conscious efforts to engage and enhance participation of Divyangjan in each and every dimension of life, be it education, using ICT solutions, or making them comfortable in whichever medium they want to be participative.
Absolutely, that's
there is no option. There is no option at all, and it all depends how sensitive we are towards their needs, how sensitive we are towards making them feel valuable, making them feel respected, making them feel accepted. Only by extending the arm of acceptance, respect and love we will be truly moving towards Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam.
Right. So they are as equal as anyone else. Ma'am, here we are with a 5-day online training on digital technology for children with special needs. What is the basic motive or aim of this training? What is the highlight that, is it awareness? Is it something else?
It is, this training needs to function at various levels. The very first level is awareness. The second level would be, no, wait for the slide to show. Let me just answer this question without taking the support of the PPT. We'll come to the PPT in a while. So as you were saying, the motive of this program. The motive of this program can be outlined at various levels. The very first level is creating awareness. You know what technology can do for you and me. When I am saying you and me, I am counting you also as able-bodied and not as the Divyang. So for you and me, telephone is merely a convenience. It's a convenience that, okay, I am able to talk to my loved ones who are not with me right now. That is, that facility I have. Now think of a person who is deaf. How that person would be able to connect to another deaf, maybe not in the vicinity, or who is located at a different geographical era or different geographical place. How to these two deaf persons will connect? The very simple mechanism of this is the video call. So when you call through video, one deaf person will be able to connect to another deaf person through signs, because it's a video and they are signing to each other. They are perfectly able to communicate, to connect and to share their feelings, expressions, opinions, and even to participate in the meetings as well. So technology makes it happen for all those who need it. So that is at the level of awareness and also at the level of building the competencies. So the person who was working on video calling technology might have thought about it, that this is how this technology may fulfill the existing lacuna of connecting two deaf persons who are located at two different geographical places or regions. So this current 5 days training would not only aim at building awareness and sensitivities, it will also, I would say, ignite a spark within, so that we will work towards making more and more inclusive spaces in the digital world, apart from building our sensitivities. Because unless we are sensitive, we are conscious towards the needs that the persons and children with disabilities and disadvantages have, we will not start thinking of them as equals.
Okay. So today's title is very important then. Let's talk about the policy perspectives. Let's talk about the need. Let's talk about the scope in relation to the digital technology for Divyang. Ma'am, give us more details according to this.
Absolutely. So when we are talking about policy perspective, that too in the context of India, we have to think of few policy, few provisions, few acts that India has recently worked upon. The very first is Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. Prior to this RPWD Act, which is also known as Divyang Jan Adhikar Adhiniyam 2016, in English we call it Right of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. Prior to this act, India as a nation was recognizing only 7 different disability conditions. After the passage of this act in 2016, the number of disability conditions legally recognized in India has increased to 3 times. Now we are recognizing 21 different disability conditions. And when I am talking about these different conditions, that means each one of us who are working for education, educational technology or otherwise as well, if we want to make our initiatives accessible for all, we have to take into account all the needs of all the persons who are having these kind of disability conditions. This is the first policy provisions that we have, RPWD Act 2016. Come 2020, and we had national education policy in our hands. Now, national education policy, what it has done? It has extended the term diverse needs beyond the area of disability. Now, once we talk about disability, we have only 21 different types of disability, that too after 2016. But once we are talking about national education policy, it has extended the diverse need beyond these 21 different disability conditions. Now, I think we can go to our PPT, which depicts 5 different identities as mentioned in national. You can show the PPT now. Yeah, these are the 5 different identities that are recognized in National Education Policy 2020, and NEP has given a new term which is SEDGs. SEDGs is basically socio-economically disadvantaged groups. So, these are the 5 groups who have both types of disadvantages, both socially as well as economically. Out of these, the very first identity is female and transgender individuals. Everywhere we have to make provisions for facilitating participation of transgenders as well,
right,
and for females as well. For female inclusion, we have been working since now past 50-60 years,
okay,
but we have to extend our definition of gender, and we have to extend our understanding of gender to include transgender individuals as well. The second identity which is recognized in NEP is related to socio-cultural identities. Now, this is our much familiar identity, which includes scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs and minorities. We have been as a nation working towards the benefit and towards energizing or enhancing participation of these socio-cultural identities. Third is a new addition, which is geographic identities. Though we have been working for their inclusion also, but not as a institution in an organized manner. So, these geographical identities include students from villages, from small towns and from aspirational district. This also includes persons and children belonging to difficult geographical terrains. Me as a person and you as a viewer might have experienced many scenarios where children had to travel few kilometers altogether on foot to reach their higher school or elementary school or secondary school or their colleges. At many places, children have to travel through mountains, they have to maybe swim through rivers, or they have to cross rivers through a bridge which is not very sturdily built. So, every day these are the challenges children are facing who are coming to educational institutions located and living in difficult geographical conditions. So, this is our third identity of socio-economical disadvantaged groups as recognized in NEP 2020. The fourth identity is socio-economic conditions. Now, who all comes under this socio-economic conditions? All the migrant communities, the low income households, children in vulnerable situations, victims of or children of victims of trafficking, orphans including child beggar in urban areas and the urban poor. So, basically each and everyone who is not able to earn a decent living comes under this fourth identity. And the fifth is our disabilities, the identity of persons with disabilities. So, all these 5 subgroups, sub-identities together comprise a bigger group which is recognized as socio-economically disadvantaged groups in the NEP 2020. And as I have been mentioning since beginning, disabilities, the NEP also is in complete resonance with RPWD Act 2016.
Okay. So, these are the 5 individual points that you mentioned that are mentioned in NEP 2020. Okay, ma'am, you have you said certain terms like Divyang, you have said disabilities. There are certain terms for a layman, I think it means all the same. But we would like to ask you whether these are different or not. There's Divyang, there's disadvantage, there's disability, there's handicap, there's impairment. So, Are they same?
No, they are not at all same. And thank you for this question. This is one of the basic questions that we all need to understand. When we are saying impairment, impairment occurs at the level of the body, at the physical level. Say for example, I may not have this hand or I may not have this thumb. So I have impairment at the body level.
Okay.
Now, if I have impairment that I don't have this hand or this limb, so certain abilities would be lost due to this. So then I become disabled.
Okay.
Okay, and that disability, whether it will make me handicap or not, that completely lies on me as an individual, how much confidence I have to overcome that particular loss of ability.
Okay.
And related to handicap, there is another story. In earlier days, the persons with disabilities, they were thought to be only good for begging, and they used to live with they were usually seen with a cap in their hand for collecting alms, for collecting whatever money or eatables or whatever they could gather from people by begging or by asking or by requesting. That is why the term handicap also emerged. So handicap is basically a social construct, and whether I am able to overcome the handicap or not, that depends entirely on me. So impairment is at the bodily level, and due to that impairment, I may have lost an ability, and whether that ability will make me handicap or not, that is my personal will. And related to this, there is another term which is called CWSN, and there is another term called CWD.
Okay.
CWD is children with disabilities, and disabilities in India we are recognizing 21 different conditions. And as far as CWSN is concerned, children with special needs. When special needs is added, the needs can arise either from disability or from disadvantage conditions. So CWSN includes both disability and disadvantages. Basically, CWSN includes all the 5 identities of SEDGs that were recognized in NEP 2020.
Okay, so we can say that when we talk about CWSN, we are not limiting to CWD.
Yes,
We're not.
definitely. It's a broader term.
It's a broader term. Okay. Ma'am, would you like to talk about the legal and policy provisions for citizens for disabilities?
Yes, definitely. And for this, what we can do is, since we are discussing about NEP 2020, so let's stick to that for a while and see what all provisions or recommendations of NEP 2020, which is in complete alignment with RPWD Act 2016 and going a step further, linking it to global perspective. This NEP and RPWD Act 2016 is in complete alignment with United Nations Conventions on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, as well as Sustainable Developmental Goals.
Okay.
So all these documents, both nationally and internationally, they are interlinked and they are in coherence. So the provisions for children with disabilities as mentioned in NEP 2020 are full participation in nearby schools, right from foundational stage onwards. And this is in the context of disabilities, but they are equally applicable to the entire spectrum of SEDGs and follow RPWD Act 2016. And NEP also recommends building school complexes so that resources can be shared on an equal basis, and special educators are to be given cross disability training and they are to be deployed in the resource center. Why the talk about school complexes? Because India is statistically huge and geographically huge also, and we may not be having resources sufficient so that each and every school may have a special educator or may have a resource center, which would be an ideal condition. So if we don't have sufficient resources, that doesn't mean that children should be devoid of the facilities they require. That is why the via media is convert schools, existing schools into school complexes, meaning have a resource center on a number of schools located nearby so that resources can be shared. And similarly, all schools should have barrier free access with complete provisions and care for safety and security of the children, and all activities including art, sports and vocational education, they should be made barrier free. No child should be made to sit in the class or should be excluded from the art, sports and vocational education just because the child cannot see or just because the child's home language is different from the medium of instruction followed in school. And as far as possible, provision of assistive devices, appropriate technology based tools, since we are having sessions on technology. So, assistive technologies and language appropriate teaching learning material should be made available to all children who are walking through the gate of the school, and this is the recommendation given by NEP 2020 on pages 5 and 9. So, let us move on and see what else NEP recommends. The next one please. So, NEP also talks about inclusion fund. So, what is inclusion fund? Inclusion fund is basically some amount, some monetary provision kept aside for all children belonging to SEDGs, and policy is in complete resonance with 2016 RPWD Act, with SDGs, with UN CRPD, as we have been saying. So, what are the facilities that we should be having in our school complexes? Multi-category special educator. Now, when I am saying multi-category special educator, so it means each special educator, irrespective of his or her training in a particular disability condition, should be given additional training in other disability conditions, so that one special educator is able to meet the needs of all children with disabilities and other special needs present in that particular school or in all the schools who are in that particular school complex. Then school complexes should also have provisions for disabilities accommodation. They should have some assistive devices and technology based tools. They should have language appropriate TLM, say for example braille books, audio books, sign language teaching learning material, and school complexes should also have individualized or personalized adaptive learning material. And needless to say, a resource center should also be an essential part of our school complexes. Now, what all should be there in a resource center? Ideally, in a resource center, we should have the speech therapist, audio physiotherapist and the occupational therapist, along with the facility of special educator, and the resource center should be open for all children who might be needing counseling, who might be needing behavioral training. So, for that also the resource center should be open.
Okay.
And here a very nice picture on the screen with the finger spellings, the alphabets in sign language, and two girls interacting with each other, happily using signs.
Yes, this is one language which doesn't need any words.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, at many situations, the persons using sign language, they have advantages over you and me. Can you name the situations?
So, there are moments when we simply like wave.
Loss of words.
Loss of words, yes.
Okay.
And some expressions and the sign language, some waving or just a single
Gestures.
thumbs up.
Maybe
gesture.
the person is too far from us, but in the visual distance.
Right.
Another situation could be when you are in a concert and the loud music is playing. You are not able to hear your friends, you are not able to communicate. Sign language comes to your aid. When you are in underwater, you won't be able to talk,
No.
but gestures and signs will come to your aid, right?
Right.
So, these are known as deaf gains. So, all is not lost as we completely perceive, many a times perceive.
Right.
So, there are gains as well.
Absolutely. Okay. So, ma'am, so far we have discussed the policy perspectives. Now, would you like to talk about the scope here? And in other words, I can ask you that are there any initiatives by the school administration, by the teacher educators, by the teachers, by the system that they have made to make the classroom more inclusive than before?
Yes, there are many initiatives, and there are many initiatives by Central Institute of Educational Technology itself, which is part of National Council of Educational Research and training, NCERT. Now, what CIT has done is, we have attempted to make universal design of learning based Indian Sign Language teaching learning material. Now, what is that? Two heavy words. No, let's understand them simply. Universal design of learning says we should follow multiple mode of expression, engagement and representation. Simply said, whatever you are speaking, convert them into writings, convert them into videos, support them with lot of pictures and allow students to engage with the information given in multiple formats in whichever way they want to engage with that. Maybe through audio, maybe through video, maybe through collage, maybe through gestures, maybe through drama, maybe through dance. And the same formats, the same multi-mode should be allowed for students to give us the output and not to be expected to submit their assignments or classworks or homeworks only in paper and pen format. This is what universal design of learning advocates. Now, what we have done in CIT and NCERT, since we are a technology institute, so we have made an attempt, a humble attempt in converting our textbooks into UDL based ISL videos. Now, what are UDL based ISL videos? ISL is for Indian Sign Language. So, we have prepared videos wherein Indian Sign Language is there on the screen. There is also a text on the screen supported by audio in the background. So, it has both visual, text and audio. So, that means multiple mode of engagement is there, representation is there. And now, if these videos are taken to a classroom where many children are there, including children from special needs as well, children with special needs. So, all learners can engage with these videos. And as far as the other initiatives are concerned, please remove this PPT. Thank you. So, this is the first initiative of CIT NCERT, that we have converted some textbook material, some teaching learning material into UDL based ISL videos. All these materials are freely available on Diksha website and Diksha portal, and they are structured in a class wise manner, so easy to access as well. The second initiative is towards making our classrooms inclusive. We are running a series called Teaching Learning Interventions for Inclusive Classrooms, which has more than 600 episodes available on NCERT official YouTube channel. Herein each episode is of 30 minutes duration, and each episode is focused on one class, one subject, one chapter, and instead of teaching the content there, the focus is on making the content accessible. Say for example, if the story has a character of a cat, then to make the child who is not able to see accessible and participate and relate with the story, the sound of the cat is suggested, so that that child who may not be able to see a cat throughout his or her life, and neither it will be possible to hold a live cat, pet it. Say for example, you and I may not have touched a squirrel, but we have seen what a squirrel is. Similarly, that blind child may not get the opportunity to touch the cat. So, the blind child can associate with the cat through sound. So, these kind of suggestions and initiatives and activities are advocated in this series. So, these are the two initiatives which are available free of cost, apart from other initiatives which are listed and available on our CIT NCERT's web page.
Okay.
So, we can very well connect with that.
That's not all, ma'am. There's one more application which is very common. I've heard its name a lot from many people. So, Prashast.
Okay, yes.
Define.
There is nothing to define Prashast. Prashast is basically a screening app.
Okay.
As I've been saying that we recognize 21 disability conditions.
Yes.
And even for a special educator, even for a person like me who has spent more than 2 decades in disability inclusion, if you'll ask me to list down all the 21 disability conditions, I may not be able to give you all the names. I may get stuck in 15 or 18.
Okay.
Fine. But when we are expecting a school teacher, a special educator to do the basic screening at the school level of all those children who might be showing some behavioral challenges which may have some association with the disability conditions. So, how these functionaries, school functionaries, field functionaries will be able to do the initial level screening. Prashast helps us in doing that initial level screening. And Prashast has two parts. Part 1 is for regular teachers, wherein we haven't given any disability conditions or names. It has only statements which you have to read and put the tick marks, whether it is applicable to the child in question. And part 2 vets the observations given in part 1, and this vetting is to be done by the special educator, who is assumed to be little more knowledgeable than the regular teacher regarding disability conditions and knowledge. And it is available on Google Play Store in Android form only.
Okay, all right. So now let's discuss the essentials that we can see on the slides, ma'am.
Yes.
What are these essentials?
The essentials. Now on the PPT you can see the essentials. These essentials are basically the pointers that will help us in developing technology for children with special needs or for Divyang person. So, when I am talking about making technology for Divyang or for children with special needs, there are three things. First is know your learner, second is know your pedagogy, and then know your content. So, unless or until I know my learner, unless or until I understand what are the needs of this particular learner and how these needs are to be addressed through my pedagogy, which may or may not follow principles of UDL, and then I have to mold my pedagogy and activities by so that my content become accessible and the participation of CWSN is enhanced. And this, if I am able to do using technology, ICT, I have done my job. And for that I need to be sensitive enough to follow the very first step of knowing my learner and their needs. Whether I need to make the content available in the language the child understands, is it ISL, is it Malayalam, is it Kannada, is it Telugu, is it Hindi, is it Odia, whichever language. And is my children able to participate at bodily level, physical level, individually, in group work? That is my pedagogy. And how do I make this learner engage with the content, either through worksheets or through videos or through interactives? That is again my pedagogy and technology connection, which is nowadays we are calling it as techno pedagogy.
Okay.
So, the healthy blend of knowing the learner, pedagogy and content needs to be the mantra for making technology and learning material for children with special needs, including the Divyangjans.
Okay, okay. Ma'am, you mentioned accessible and you mentioned participation. So, there's a term called universal accessibility and participation. Would you like to discuss the details or the highlights of these two terms?
Okay, when I am saying universal access, okay, before I go for universal access and participation, I would like to show our viewers a beautiful picture. Now, here in this picture you can see 5 children in a classroom. And they all have their own individual modality.
Right.
One is on the laptop, another is using colors, another is using the books, a girl is wearing headphones and the other person is playing with test tubes and beakers.
Right.
They might be engaging in the same content, but the classroom is inclusive because they are using their preferred mode of content engagement. And they are expressing themselves using their preferred mode. So, this is the kind of ideal utopian inclusive classroom where children have flexibility. And as I mentioned that our national policies and provisions are in line with the global perspective. And the proof here lies in UN CRPD principle, which our RPWD Act has adopted as it is, and our NEP is also, NEP 2020 is also in line with UN CRPD principles. So, very quickly let us see them. UN CRPD principle advocates inherent dignity is to be respected, individual autonomy including freedom to make one's own choices and independence of person needs to be respected. It is not that if I am not able to see, then you will make decisions for me yourself. No, I have the right to make my own choices. And for that, in a restaurant, you have to provide menu to me in braille or in audio format.
Okay.
You can't choose food for me. As simple as that. Then again, another principle is non-discrimination. You cannot have any discrimination due to my disability conditions. That means if I am using a wheelchair, you should provide ramp, that too with accessible gradient and handrail, so that I will be independent like you. There should not be any discrimination. Third principle says I have right to full and effective participation in the society. Then when I am saying about society, it is not only confined to my household and my workplace. I have right to participate in recreational activities. I have right to go for malls. I have right for cinema halls as well. So provide audio version of movies as well. Many a times it happens during videos, there is the characters moving on the screen but no noise is coming, no dialogues are there. Make that scene accessible, give me audio support. So full and effective participation and inclusion in society. I should not be left behind at home when the whole family goes and enjoys a wedding function. These kind of the three principles. And the fourth one says respect for difference and acceptance of persons with disabilities as part of human diversity and humanity. Accept me the way I am. Just like you accept a very tall person, just like you accept a person who doesn't have hair or thin hair on head. Just like you accept a person with dark complexion, accept disabilities as part of human diversity. Next principle says give me equality of opportunity. Give me provisions, give me support services and I will be able to deliver and make each and everything accessible to me. Make your buses accessible, make your workplace accessible, and please no discrimination between persons with disabilities on the basis of their gender. A man with disability would be accepted easily as compared to women with disability. This should not be the condition. So this is also one of the UNCRPD principle, which says equality between men and women. Then the last one is regarding children. Respect for the evolving capacities of children with disabilities.
Okay.
We have to have faith that they are evolving, they are growing, and with age they will develop their own positives and strengths. That faith needs to be there, and for that we need to have a very supportive environment. So this is about the global perspective, and this is one of my favorite quotes. Our challenge is not to educate the children we used to have or want to have, but to educate the children who comes to the schoolhouse door. That means you have to accept and respect everyone who walks through the school door. Now these are the SDG principle. I am not going to go into the detail. And NEP also advocates one thing, that we have to make our education system equitable and inclusive for all the stages of school education and higher education, starting from ECCE, that is early childhood care and education. And it also advocates some recommendation for the teachers, which says that teachers need to update their capabilities, their knowledge regularly, and PTR is pupil teacher ratio is also recommended. Now let us come to universal access and participation. Now universal access says you cannot deny admission for a particular child based on either their disadvantage or their disability condition. So there has to be zero rejection, and you have to make each and every activity accessible, either through audio, through video, or through ICT, or by building ramps, or by providing braille trail, just like our metros in Delhi do. All the metro stations are accessible for blind people.
Yes.
So only then the participation will be enhanced, and that is not to be limited to only curricular areas, but to vocational education as well as to all dimensions of education, including sports, including yoga, including co-curricular activities, and not limited to school education, but to be extended to higher education systems as well. So this is about universal access and participation.
Okay. Ma'am, in between when we were discussing, you mentioned Indian Sign Language. So, that just gave me a thought. When you mention Indian Sign Language, is it different from the other countries' sign language?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It is.
It's not universal?
It is not universal, though some signs cut across territories,
Okay.
cut across nation boundaries, but we do have a sign language which is particular to a particular nation. Say for example, we have British Sign Language, we have Canadian Sign Language, and we also have Indian Sign Language. And as far as Indian Sign Language is concerned, the signs vary from state to state as well. So right now we are addressing the challenge of bringing standard to an Indian Sign Language, and in our context, Indian Sign Language has lots of influence of American Sign Language and the sign language of other countries. So we are gradually but steadily moving towards standardizing few signs, and to have a standardized version of a sign language for us.
All right. And anyone and everyone is eligible to learn the Indian Sign Language?
Of course, anyone and everyone who is interested in learning the sign language, because it's a language, just like Hindi, Marathi, French, Odia, or any language, any spoken language. And just a few minutes earlier I mentioned about deaf gains. So if you know a particular language, you really are at an advantage position. Because all those persons, especially the deaf who are using sign language, they don't have any other condition related to their cognition. They are as good and capable as you and I. The only condition is communication. That is a challenge, and that challenge is almost similar if there is a room full of persons who are speaking French, but I speak Spanish. So I may not be able to communicate with them effectively, or I speak only Hindi, so I may not be able to communicate with persons who only understand English. That's the only challenge. The barrier is only language. So if you know sign language, you will be able to connect easily with them, and they with you.
Right. And that will be one step ahead of making it inclusive.
Yes, and that is the much required step. And nowadays, many a times in metros, when you travel by metros, it's a very pleasant sign when you see people conversing in sign language. So that also is a very pleasant scenario, that people are coming out and they are conversing. And you know, this year's theme for sign language is deaf people everywhere can sign everywhere. With this theme, we have recently celebrated the Day of Sign Languages on 23rd September.
Okay, that was very recent.
Yes.
All right. Ma'am, would you like to tell us more about the recommendations of NEP 2020 for bridging the digital divide?
Okay, before I go on to bridging the digital divide, let's understand what is digital divide.
Okay.
Digital divide is basically when few people have more digital resources and access to better quality digital resources as compared to the other person. Say for example, I have access to laptop, personal laptop, high speed internet, whereas the other person who is living maybe 4 houses from my house may be having only one family laptop and may not have access to high speed internet conditions. So there is a divide. Here in my household, everyone has a personal laptop, and there they may not be. They may have to go do with only one family laptop, and the parents may also have to access their meetings through them, and the children also may have to use that for their assignments and all. So NEP 2020 recommends some modalities for bridging the digital divide, and this is we have to look for low cost affordable computing devices which are easily, because digital divide is majorly linked with the economic conditions. So if we have affordable computing devices, that will be one effective measure of bridging the digital divide. Then another recommendation is, if you have to go for online and digital education, just like we were forced to go online during corona times. So we have to maintain the equity. it's not that only the high resource accessible families will get the quality education. No, each and everyone should get the quality education, and we should take care of concerns of equity. The education in good quality should be accessible to those children who may not have individual digital gadgets, right. So, that is the second recommendation. The third recommendation is we have to invest our resources in creating structures that are interoperable, that are able to gel well with easily available local solutions, and you need not to work on solutions from scratch, and they are easy to scalable, they are easy to meet the needs of each and everyone, and they may not be very severely complex. Only then simple easy solutions will be able to promote and bridge the they will be able to only bridge the digital divide. And especially for children with disabilities, children from special needs, Divyangjans, we have to work on solutions for assistive devices that are easy to use, user friendly and indigenous. And more focus should be on open educational resources through which we can disseminate our content free of cost and reach the masses. So, these are the major recommendations of NEP 2020 for bridging the digital divide. Apart from this, these NEP also recommends using mass media such as television, radio, community radio, and maybe this is the reason that India is now having 200 DTH TV channels under the initiative called PM eVidya. Earlier we had only 12 channels, one class, one channel, but now these are being extended to around 200 channels, and educational programs are being broadcast on PM eVidya DTH channels 24/7 in different languages. And this a special focus of these educational programs is that they are available in all Indian languages, and they are also available in sign language. So, they are being regularly telecast, and many a times there is a question from the persons who want to study science that how we will be able to do experimentation in virtual platform. So, for that we have a solution. This is called virtual labs, and it is also one of the recommendations of NEP 2020 on page number 59, which says that we have to have virtual labs for encouraging hands-on experiences as similar, as close as if we were doing these experiments in the laboratories. So, these are the few recommendations of NEP 2020 for bridging the digital divide.
Okay, ma'am. So, let me tell you that approximately 2500 people are watching this program at the moment, and we have received certain questions as well.
Okay, let's take them.
Yes. So, I think this question is from one of the teachers. His name is Vishal Agarwal, and he is asking, ma'am, if a child is not able to speak properly, but he understands all the commands given to him, so how can we help that child in class? I think he is talking about a real child that he...
Wow, that's a very simple solution. The child is able to understand everything. The only thing is the self-expression through verbal medium is the challenge only.
Right.
Allow the child to self-expression through any written medium.
Okay.
Let the child type in the answers as in a laptop, as in a word file, and if the child is able to write and has no problem with the hand or eye-hand coordination, let the child express through pen and paper. Allow the child to express himself or herself using gestures. And if you can understand simple signs and all, encourage the usage of more and more signs, and that way you can also learn the science, the basic science.
That's very interesting. And I think our teacher Vishal Agarwal, he has got the answer that he was looking forward to.
Maybe.
Okay. And another question was, where can one learn the Indian Sign Language?
Okay. So, for learning the Indian Sign Language, there is an institute called Indian Sign Language Research and Training Center, which is located in Okhla, Delhi, and they have recently launched a course on ISL, basic ISL. So you can go for that course as well and contact ISL RTC. All the details would be available on their website, and you can learn sign language through various videos that are available free of cost on various social media platforms.
Okay, this was the question asked by Anuradha Kohli. So, ma'am, we don't have time to take up more questions, but I'm sure I've noted down these questions and we'll be covering them in this entire training either tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for being
My
with
pleasure.
us today. And yes, we've got a lot of compliments for you and for this entire presentation. Yes, our viewers are saying that this was very informative and interesting. So, thank you so much. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you to all the viewers for being a part of this program, and it was a pleasure having ma'am and it was a pleasure having you all with us. So now let me quickly tell you that how you can participate in this 5-day online training. So all you have to do is type CIET on your browsers, any one of the browsers. You will see this screen. So please click on it. This website has recently been updated. So I'm going to give you a brief how you can operate it. You can see the menu bars here. This is the menu bar titled Activities. Please click on it. Once you do, the last option is Workshop/Training. Please click on it. Another page will open. And if you scroll it down, you would see in the current activity, this online training's title has been mentioned, Digital Technology for Children with Special Needs. Please click on it. Another page will open, and here are all the details regarding this online training. The schedule has been mentioned for each and every day with the titles and who all can participate. Why is this training happening? What is it all about? Although that we have discussed the motive, the aim, but you have to go through all this and the objectives of this training, the program schedule, the experts details also have been mentioned. Let me just quickly give you a brief that today's topic was Digital Technology for Divyang, Policy Perspectives, Need and Scope. Tomorrow we are going to discuss digital initiatives for Divyang. Third day we will be discussing adaptive learning through digital technology. Day 4 we'll be discussing assistive technology, and day 5 we will be discussing universal design of learning. Please watch all these programs, and they are going to be really useful once you will be participating in the quiz. Now here comes the registration part. All you have to do is click on this link, and whatever details this form would be asking, please fill it. Your name, your school's name, and all the other details. Please make sure that you are putting right information, and the spellings should be right, or you can simply scan this QR code and fill this information. Now scroll it down a little further. Here is the link of our YouTube channel, that is NCERT Official. Our day 1's session will be uploaded on this link, and all the sessions that will be happening from 4 to 5 during this 5-day training will be uploaded on this link. So you can watch them all together if you want. And scroll it down. Here is the space for the quiz link. The quiz link will be given to you on 13th of October. That would be the last day of our training, and you will get a lot of time till 23rd of October 6 p.m. You will get approximately 10 days and you can play the quiz. If you score more than 70% marks, then you will be given the participation certificate. Here is the feedback link and the QR code for feedback. Please send your suggestions, your advices, your feedbacks. What did you like? What do you want us to improve? Any changes? Feel free to share all of it with us. And here is the specific email ID, that's training.helpdesk@ciet.nic.in. You can share your queries, your questions on this email ID, not just during this program, but any time of the programs, any time during this 5-day. So here is each and everything regarding this online training. Please make sure that you register yourself as soon as you can. Tomorrow we are going to meet again, same time, that is 4 p.m. on the same platform, which is NCERT official, and the topic is going to be digital initiatives for Divyang. Thank you so much once again for being a part of this program, and please take great care of yourself. Upcoming next is another special program of ours that is called Sahyog, and the title of discussion is going to be Understanding Mental Health and Well-Being. Stay with us and keep your questions ready. Have a great day ahead. I'm Tanvi Khurana. I'll take a leave of you. Namaskar.